Yes. Good morning again. Good morning. Okay, so I'm going to do the musculo-skeletal system. Okay, that's I think day one. Yeah. Ooh, she packed the clicker. It's gone. It's empty. Our drawer is empty. I got no clicker. That's funny. I gotta do it manually. Okay, musculoskeletal system. We did the central nervous system, the nervous system, central and peripheral nervous system. This time we're going to do the musculoskeletal system. What do you think this parts include or organs?
Joints, muscles,
and skeletal system. Skeleton. Okay, so those are your bones, your joints, your muscles, your ligaments, all that fun part. So there may be a lot of anti-inflammatories in here. There may be a lot of pain meds in here, right? Pain, inflammation. We got sore muscles, anti-inflammatory. We're going to talk about diseases first and then the drugs that treat their diseases. Oh, I got to do this manually. Okay, arthritis. Okay. We got arthritis and osteoarthritis. Okay. It's an autoimmune disease. Okay. Arthritis means joint inflammation in simple terms and is a disorder characterized by joint pain. Okay. What happens during arthritis?
you stiffen.
You stiffen, correct. Okay, why? The fluids that's supposed to lubricate those joints that make it flexible, as you age, stiffen and harden. It's just like a car. The body's just like a car as it gets older. Okay, there's a wear and tear. Okay, so what happens to these fluids that lubricate these joints? They stiffen. Okay, they harden. And that's why you'll see people with arthritis with claws like this, and fingers like this, right? Most of these people struggle even more or suffer even more in the cold weather or cold season, just like right now. It's harder and it's more painful. Okay? So when they wake up, what they usually do, they like massage this, massage the joints, right? Or they'll run it under hot water. It's the principle behind a stiffened, you see, it's liquid and then it toughened like a gel, then a hard gel. So they're kind of trying to soften it by being on what? Under hot water. A lot of things I'll talk about complementary and alternative medicine like jacuzzi, okay, and saunas that may help with arthritis. Osteoarthritis is a degenerative joint disease in which cartilage in joints becomes thinner and less elastic, eventually causing bone to wear and become deformed. Okay. Appears after the age 40. Am I a candidate? Yes, I'm a candidate. Does it run in my family? Yes, it runs in my family. Okay. Yes, it runs in my family. Okay. So we have family members who are bow-legged now because of arthritis. Okay. Just like I have history of diabetes in my family, but I don't have diabetes. Because there's a lot of it that involves lifestyle change. Okay. So my family members, they're diabetic in their 30s. I'm 47 now. I'm not diabetic. Okay. They have cholesterol issues in their mid 30s. Bless you. I don't have cholesterol issues. They're on maintenance medication for hypertension or diabetes. I don't have any of those. I have friends my age who are on maintenance too. So, but one thing that's difficult is if you have that in your blood, in your family, you're already 50%. There's already a 50% chance you're gonna have it. So your fight has to be double. Your effort has to be double. Okay? The spine, the hips, the knees, the fingers, the big toes may be affected. That's why my example was like this. My example was one of my sisters, or two of them, got bow-legged. Okay? Brain stiffness or after inactivity. Like you'll see them sit and then, they say it's like that for me, right? But the less you move, the more it's going to happen. So you see why Japanese is one of the healthiest nations. Singaporeans, a lot of Asians, right? And Italians. One of the things they studied, if you could watch, I think it's on Netflix, Blue Zone. It's a short series. I don't like this series. This American journalist studied this different countries or cities, particularly where there's the most centenarians. You know what centenarians are? Those who are over 100 years old. Okay. He studied. He went to these countries and tried to find what they do, why they live longer. Okay. Singapore is one. Okinawa, Japan is another. Sardinia, Italy is another. Okay. What did he find out? I want to give you a little bit of summary, but if you could watch all, he featured each country or each city. Okay. The Asian countries, okay, you've noticed them, Asians squat. Right? So in Japan, this is how they sit in many Asian countries, right? Right? In the Philippines too. I heard somebody say Filipino squat. It's not just Filipinos, Asians do that, okay? And they realize that this countries, okay, are healthy by doing this simple thing. They don't have high chairs because they get to bend. So they tend to be flexible still, even at the age of 80. Those are countries I'm mentioning, or cities in those countries I'm mentioning, who's got the most elderly, who's 100 years old. Okay. So Asian countries, that's one of the things. Okay. Another thing on the Asian countries, they're big on families. Big on families. So in Singapore, they tax so much and they sell cars very expensively. So they're forced to walk. Okay. It's a small country. Manila is bigger than Singapore. Manila, the city in the Philippines alone, is bigger than Singapore. It's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful airports. It's like when you go to their airport, Changi Airport, it's like a forest. There's nature inside the airport. Okay. And so the government did something. It didn't just happen overnight. The government did something. We're going to tax cars, purchasing cars. It's about $100,000 to own a car. They made it expensive so people will walk. Okay. But they built metros everywhere. Okay. And then they have so many parks for elderly and for young people too. Okay. And this is what they did that I like. In Singapore, if you, as a child, a daughter, or a son, live next to your parents, you're allowed to buy the house at your house. You decide to live next to your parents because you're going to be your parents' caretaker at a low, really low price to almost free. Because they've studied that those parents or elderly who live with their children live even longer. And that's what they do in Japan too. In Italy, they studied like why Italy has the most centenarian, people who can live up to over 100. Okay? And they're carbs country. Right? I love Italian food, but it's really carbs. Okay. The way the houses are, you're gonna have to climb steep cobblestones, right? Every day you're walking uphill and downhill and uphill and downhill and uphill and downhill. So another lesson is just simply walking a lot helps a lot with your health. Flexibility and walking. Okay. And then many European countries, including Italy and Spain, they have a lower pace of life, slower, not lower, but slower pace in life. Stores shut down between 1 to 4 p.m. or 2 to 5 p.m. for siesta. And what is siesta?
Dinner.
Nap.
Yeah.
Nap. Okay. The stores close. It's not going to be frowned upon. Slower pace of life. That's why stores are open till midnight, 2 a.m. There's a lot of tapas places and a lot of bars that's open late. They start late. And then employees, if you work in an office, you got 2-hour lunch break. You could go home and sleep. Okay? But the walking, climbing up these hills and down, is the one that they pinpointed to have attributed to this people who live in these places live up to 1,000. Sounds simple, right? Let's walk. That's why we have those watches that tell us how much we walk, and we should walk more. That simple thing. Okay. Back in our old classroom, I do 6,000 steps easily. You can picture now how big that classroom is, right? Every day. Because I walk around. Okay. No dilation. But here, I'm lucky to get 1,000. Okay. I was just in Europe last July, right? A normal day for me and my son going out, taking the metro, going to eat, whatever, is 19,000 steps. That's a normal day. And he didn't even complain. At the end, we would press our watches and take a picture of it. How come, Mom, you got more steps than I do? I said, my strides are shorter. You're big guys, and your strides are longer, so you got less steps than me. But we walk the same amount, right? That simple thing of walking, the squatting, flexibility, right, allows you to live a little bit longer. Not guaranteeing 100 years, but this is a study that this guy made. And so he was thinking, how do we replicate it in the United States? Right? So he went to Loma Linda, California. He found that this particular city, okay, group of people who has everything ticked off, having a sense of community, having a grocery, no McDonald's in the area, having a grocery with produce, organic produce, okay? And they have activities for seniors like Tai Chi, and all this stuff, allowed them
Yes, you are using.
Allow them to live a healthier, longer lives. That was a replication. Okay. So it's a combination of government, Singapore, expensive to have a car, tax when you have tax. They made it. So it's a cooperation between the government, the systems, okay, and people's efforts. Okay. So I asked my son one time, I said, so you're not gonna help mom? Like when she's older, you're not gonna hold her on her hand when we're walking. Of course I will, mom. But I think, he said, it'll take a while before you get there. I said, oh, why'd you say that? Because his nana is in her 60s, and she's like, if she didn't live with me, she'd down spiral. But I'm like a hall monitor in a court martial. Have you walked today? Get on the bike today? It's like that. Right? And then her sister would come here, the bow-legged one. I take them to aqua classes. And it's like, my son has a job. He takes them, drives the golf cart, takes them to the club. And okay, it's like I'm a police. Did you walk this morning? No. Okay, time to walk. Right? Simple thing. Simple thing. My mom, when she came here in 2018, she had a cane. Now she walks. Okay, I had to do tough love. I did have to do tough love. I almost gave in. She said she wanted those electric chairs. I almost gave in. Because I saw her, she was in a cane when I picked her up at the airport. And my friend said, don't do it. Didn't do it. I didn't do it. But instead, I took her to aqua classes. Those are like, they're lifting weights underwater, so it's not too much on them, right? When her sister saw that, they came here summertime, and I was the same. I did the same for them. And her sister was also in a cane and went home without a cane. Okay? That simple thing of movement. Okay, so my son said, I think it's going to be a while, mom, till you need that assistance from me. I said, why? Because you're very active. That simple thing too. Right? That simple thing too. Move. Move. Excuse my French, but move your ass. Move. Even just walking. Okay. Morning stiffness or inactivity. Cold weather. Very common. Why? The fluid. Talk about it later. What it's called. Do you know what the fluid is called? You said it close. Synovial fluid. That's what that lubrication is called. It's like the oil in cars. Okay, for those hinges to run. And what happens is it solidifies. It hardens as we age. It's part of the wear and tear. It's very hard for me to do this manually. Okay. What are the treatment? At the beginning, you saw joint inflammation. So one treatment would be, not looking at this, NSAIDs. Steroids are anti-inflammatory, but these ones are anti-inflammatory without the steroids. Okay, don't look here yet. Okay, so what is that? Ibuprofen, brand name Motrin. Right, that's one. Okay. We have your Celebrex, celecoxib. Okay. What's the number one side effect of NSAIDs? Again, gastric irritation to gastric bleeding. This always shows up on the PTCE. How? The patient comes back in a case form. The patient comes back, complains of gastric bleeding. Which amongst this medication may have caused that? It'll either be an aspirin or an ibuprofen in there. Is that clear? Okay, let's go back. So, NSAID, your ibuprofen. Don't look here yet. Next one. Tylenol. What is Tylenol? Generic acetaminophen. In other countries, paracetamol. Okay? So, you want to take notes. I'm going to write a lot. Right? Tylenol brand name, generic acetaminophen. What is that? Of course, Tylenol is a big name. So they have Tylenol PM, Tylenol arthritis, right? The Tylenol PM is acetaminophen with Benadryl, diphenhydramine. They are piggybacking on the big brand name, on the popular brand name. But what's important is to look at the active ingredients. Most popular brand, Tylenol, acetaminophen. Kroger has their own acetaminophen. CVS has their own acetaminophen, right? So acetaminophen. Know that acetaminophen, number one or primary function is an antipyretic. I told you I don't need the slide. Okay? Antipyretic. What does antipyretic mean? Okay. Came from the word pyro, meaning fire. So heat. So what does it do? It lowers elevated body temperature or fever. Remember this in order. A Tylenol is not an NSAID. Okay? Miss L is allergic to NSAID. I can only take Tylenol. Okay? I can only take Tylenol for whatever inflammation or pain or soreness. That's it. That's my go-to. So when you see me pop a Tylenol, I'm in real bad pain because I have a very high pain threshold. Okay. Speaking of pain threshold, who has higher pain threshold, men or women? Women. Okay, women. Okay. We give birth. You see that? That's a high pain threshold. Yeah. Our anatomy is made that way. Okay. Men are babies. Men are babies. Little pains like the end of the world for them. Anyway, secondary analgesic. What's analgesic for? Pain. Analgesia. Not to confuse it with anesthesia. That sensation, numbing. Okay? Analgesic, secondary function. Okay? So if you have fever, should you take ibuprofen over Tylenol? This should be your drug of choice. Okay? This should be your drug of choice. And you will notice your opioids are combined with acetaminophen because it has a secondary function of analgesic. Very little to no effect as an anti-inflammatory. What's anti-inflammatory? Swelling and inflammation. Goodbye. Sorry. There's no one with epilepsy, so I don't give warnings. Sorry. Okay. Acetaminophen. Now let's talk about your Motrin, big brand, or aspirin later on. Generic ibuprofen. Take note, fun fact, 200 milligrams is OTC, 400, 600, and 800 mg is RX. Okay? Just to stop you from taking 4, no one. However, it can be more expensive if you have good insurance. Because if the doctor writes an 800 milligram ibuprofen for you and you have 0 copay or $5 copay, that's better than paying a bottle and popping 4 each time. Is that clear? Okay. Side effect I forgot before I move on. Very good. Liver problems, liver damage. If you just know this, you're probably going to get 10 questions on the PTCE. Yay. You're welcome. Thank you. Motrin, ibuprofen, 200 milligrams is OTC. Okay. 400, 600, and 800 prescription only. Side effect? Ditis, gastric irritation to gastric bleeding. Fun fact, Motrin is not the number 1 NSAID, it's aspirin. Aspirin is abbreviated as ASA. What about acetaminophen? What's the abbreviation for acetaminophen? APAP. Here? I'm going to erase this because this is not ibuprofen. It's aspirin. As just in fact, acetyl salicylic acid. Let's go on. This one has a primary function of anti-inflammatory first. Higher on the anti-inflammatory side. So because it's for anti-inflammatory, second on pain, very little fever effect. These are very useful to you because these are over-the-counter drugs. Okay? Okay. Here's what I do. When my son has a fever, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. Okay. I give him a Tylenol first, acetaminophen. You following? Because this can be taken and best taken without food. So the moment he wakes up, he doesn't put on his makeup. Okay? So, Tylenol, acetaminophen, because it's okay without food. You following? And it has a 4 to 6 hours effect. Those has to be after 4 to 6 hours. You following? I'd give him that. Okay. This is how I manage fever. Okay, especially with pediatrics. I know if you're a new parent, it's like, yeah, ER right away, ER right away. Okay. That's why I hope I could share this to like parents with little ones. Okay. On the 5th hour, because it's at the middle, right? I'm going to give him ibuprofen. But it's gonna be after meals. Why? Side effect? Gastric irritation or gastric bleeding. So the food has to coat it first, right? That's why I give it on the 5th hour, because Motrin ibuprofen has an effect of 6 to 8 hours. You following now? The fastest way to lower fever is doing both around the clock. How do you do that? On the 5th hour of Tylenol, you give the child or you give yourself ibuprofen in 6 to 8 hours. On the 7th hour, back to here. Okay. And then count on the 5th hour of that back to here. Within 24 hours, fever is lowered. Okay. Know this though. Okay. Know this. Fever is not a disease. Fever is a sign that there's something wrong. Fever is a symptom. It's a sign. Fever is a way for your body to say, there's something going on that's not normal inside. Or fever is a sign that your immune system is doing its job. Why? It encountered something foreign like a virus or a bacteria. You're going to have a fever. That's why number one thing I ask when I hear somebody sniffling, I ask, do you have fever? Because if the person has fever, that's colds. Because colds is a virus. Usually when there's no fever, that's allergies. Okay? That's why I don't medicate colds. Okay. There's tens of thousands of viruses and you don't know exactly what's on you. You just rest, sleep, drink lots of fluids, lots of vitamin C, lots of zinc, immune boosting supplements. Okay. So when you have a fever, your immune system is doing its job. It's like, oh, it's fighting it. That's why it's exerting energy. Okay. Is that clear? But you have to know this. It's very common. Okay. On your Tylenol packet too, it'll say do not exceed how many doses? Not exceed, so abbreviation NTE. What's NTE? Not to exceed 5 doses. Why? Because of this. You went to the gym, you worked out. What's your drug of choice if you're sore? This or this? It should be this. Right? But if you're allergic to NSAIDs like Miss L, you got no choice. This one, right? Fun fact, right? Like I said, the number one NSAID is not Motrin or ibuprofen. I was wrong too when I was guessing. It's aspirin. Aspirin. Yeah. Aspirin, anti-inflammatory. One thing you need to know. Do not give to children younger than 18 years of age because of what you call a race syndrome. And speaking of syndrome, this shows up on the board. The effect of aspirin.
But we did take baby aspirin when we were younger.
Yes.
So that was recalled. That's for aspirin. Speaking of syndrome, side note, what is the on and off phenomenon in Parkinson's disease, which was your homework? You turn it in?
Yes. I get out.
You could.
What did it? Wait.
Side note,
What is it?
you think I forgot? No.
It is for.
Parkinson's disease. On and off phenomenon. What is that?
It's when the linkation you're taking. Level down.
Levodopa, or the dopamine that you're taking, okay, didn't last all the way to the next dose. Kind of shorted, didn't make it through.
Why though? Body.
It depends, remember, your body surface area, the number of fat content in your body matters. They all matter. So if a drug is fat soluble, and you have more fat than other patients, it stays longer in the body. You're prone to toxicity. See that? The effect is longer too. Okay, so that's why we do dosage calculations on obese patients, patients with liver damage, patients with kidney problems. Because most drugs are metabolized by the liver, excreted through the kidneys. So those have to be adjusted. Exactly the same reason why we get lower dose to children than adults. So we call them special groups. Okay. Any questions here? Yeah, maybe please release the board. This is like a golden board right now. Very important. Maybe ask 10 questions on the board. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Gracias. Señorita. Next one. It went away. It doesn't want me to toss the projector. Toss it to the projector. Okay. Oh, why is it not going? It's not letting me project it. It's not letting me drag it. There we go. Sure. Okay, analgesic, Tylenol. Okay, available OTC, no prescription required. When do we give this? Mild to moderate pain. Dosing, like I said, every 4 to 6 hours. Okay, Remember I talked about this in the previous sequence? Prostaglandins. What is prostaglandins?
Responsible for being.
It is that chemical that's responsible for pain, fever, and inflammation. Okay? That's the culprit. It's a chemical in our body. So the more prostaglandins, the more pain we experience. The more prostaglandins, the more swelling we experience. The more prostaglandin we experience fever too. Okay. Talked about this many times already. Instead, I talked about it. Okay. Now let's talk about common NSAIDs. Number one would be your aspirin. Okay. Say Voltaren. Okay. Say Etodolac. Ibuprofen, brand names, Motrin, and Advil. Okay. Say indomethacin. Say Indocin. Okay. Ketorolac. Say Toradol. Oh, this one's common. Mobic. Say Meloxicam. Say Relifen. Okay. You will notice fen is common. Okay. Ibuprofen, Relifen. Okay. Those are common. And then other than that, you just have to remember. Okay. What's the most common? Aspirin, ibuprofen, Motrin, Advil, Voltaren. Okay. Voltaren. And Toradol is popular too, as well as Mobic. Okay. Let's talk about them in a little bit more detail. Ketorolac, only short-term use, 5 days max. Okay. Provides relief similar to 12 milligrams of morphine. Strong. No more than 5 days though. Diclofenac. Okay. What brand name again? Voltaren. Very good. Comes in, that's why it's popular. It's older drug. Okay. Remember Volta? I showed you the statue of Volta. He was the one who created batteries. Okay. He has a statue in Italy, in Lake Como. Voltahe. So smart, right? That's why batteries voltage. And then Voltaren.
That's cool.
Right? Is an Italian scientist.
Thank you, Volta.
Thank you, Volta. Okay. So, going back, it's popular because it's old, and it's popular because it comes in different dosage forms. It comes in a topical form, which means you can apply it on your skin, right? Right. So localized treatment to pain. If it's on the arm, it's on the arm. On the back, put it on your patch. It comes in patch as well. Okay, so transdermal patch should be applied to the most painful area and changed every 12 hours. Did I tell you about ibuprofen? When I'm trying to lower the fever of my son, I alternate it. It lowers faster than just ibuprofen alone, or than just Tylenol alone. Okay? Synergistic effect. Next one. NSAIDs, or N-acetaminophen, stop the production of prostaglandin. The fever, the pain, and the inflammation factor. The culprit, the chemical culprit that our body produces that causes fever, pain, and inflammation. Talked about this many, many times. Side effect of NSAIDs: GI bleeding, blood clotting, kidney damage, increased risk for heart attack and stroke. Okay? Say misoprostol.
Misoprostol.
An NSAID that is contraindicated in pregnancy. Why? It is an abortifacient. Others say abortifacient. What does that mean? It can cause an abortion. Okay?
You shouldn't take.
And here's the problem. So don't just take it because you wanted to have an abortion. If it didn't go through, you're gonna have babies with defects. No limbs, chopped fingers, cleft palate. Do not take NSAID with another NSAID. When dosing with Tylenol, you want to wait at least 2 hours. Take the next dose. But I gave you an example. Don't take it until like 4 to 6 hours. I do the midway, 5th hour. I really time. Okay, when somebody's sick at home, I have so many alarms going on. On a normal day, nobody's sick. I have so many alarms going on. It's going to be double when somebody's sick. Why? Because I'm checking whether they took their medications already. Okay. If I'm sick, I have alarms too, especially when they're antibiotics. Okay. Next one, digoxin. Say digoxin. It came from a plant called digitalis. A lot of our drugs came from plants. Okay. Oral hypoglycemics. Let's break it down. What's hypo? Low. What's gly? Sugar. All right. So what's emics? Drugs that are used to lower sugar levels. So anti-diabetics. And you should not take it with warfarin. Okay. NSAIDs such as ibuprofen, aspirin should not be taken with warfarin or Coumadin. Okay, and other blood. That clear? Next one. Here is your COX-2 inhibitor. Celecoxib. You see? COX-2. Say Celebrex. Say COX-2 inhibitor. It blocks the cyclooxygenase 2. Doesn't matter to you guys. It's an NSAID. Right? We didn't do organic chemistry. It does not cause ulcers, just like other NSAIDs, the gastric irritation and gastric bleeding, okay? Or increase the risk of bleeding. And this is why this is a drug of choice for an anti-inflammatory. Doctors prefer it over NSAIDs. It's more expensive though. Okay. Over ibuprofen. Okay, because ibuprofen, gastric irritation, gastric bleeding. But this group, the COX-2 inhibitor group, are anti-inflammatory. But they don't have that effect of ulcers, gastric irritation, gastric bleeding. Okay, just like NSAIDs do. Is that clear? Okay, so many doctors prescribe it more than the other, but it's more expensive. Here is box warning for increased heart attack, though. You can never win. And stroke. Dispense with a med guide. This is one of those drugs that we dispense with a med guide. Remember, we talked about med guides. Example would be your warfarin. You remember that, Tisha? Taisha? Warnings. Do not use if allergic to sulfa drugs, sulfonamides, or aspirin. Break it down. Nephrotoxicity. Nephro pertains to kidneys. What happens?
Poison.
Damaging to the kidneys. Okay. So strong for your kidneys because it's excreted via the kidneys. That's fine. Now let's check. What are the warning side effects of osteoporosis? So question on osteoporosis. We haven't even talked about osteoporosis. It's supposed to be osteoarthritis, I think. If it's osteoarthritis, the answer is stiffness. Osteoporosis is different. That's the curvature on your back.
Oh, that was your bone. Your bone density.
I'm sorry, that's scoliosis of that. Again. So osteoarthritis is this question. Osteoporosis is the brittling of the bones. Scoliosis is the curvature of your back. Okay.
Osteoporosis again.
Osteoporosis is the brittling of the bone. Okay, that's why I say take as much milk as you can while you're younger because your bones will not absorb the vitamin D and the calcium in milk anymore when you're older. Okay.
You can still take vitamins.
Why does the vitamin D3? But it has to be calcium and vitamin D. That's why their milk that says fortified with. Okay. So you want those. Hopefully you're not lactose intolerant. So if the question is, if this is wrong, osteoarthritis, the answer is stiffness. Again, osteoporosis is the brittling of the bones, because my son just did his scoliosis check at school. Scoliosis, and I have scoliosis. Scoliosis is a curvature in your back, right? This is when the hips are not even. They checked you, I think, he was checked in middles. Okay. NSAIDs are the first treatment in decreasing. What is it? Osteoporosis. Osteoarthritis. I didn't make this, sorry. Osteoarthritis inflammation. If it's osteoarthritis,
True.
fill in the blank. Ketorolac should be used for a blank time. Short or how short? Well, it looks like it's osteoarthritis. Because those are not the drugs for osteoporosis. Okay. Any questions? Okay. We still have more musculo-skeletal. I think I can do one more. Part 2. I hope Miss J remembers where the clicker is, or she took it with her rather than in the boxes. To be continued. RA. We did osteoarthritis a while ago. That's your OA. This one is RA. RA is the autoimmune disease. What did I tell you about autoimmune disease?
Not curable.
No cure. No cure. Okay, no cure. It's an autoimmune disease that destroys the synovial membrane of the joint, causing inflammation. Characteristics similar to osteoarthritis, with morning pain and stiffness regardless of activity. This is like really, really worse form. Also like this. Their toes are like this too. Because it's an autoimmune disease, we can check for this by doing a blood work. Okay, autoimmune disease. They're gonna check. Okay. Using blood work. No cure, but treatable. What do we do? Manage the symptoms by NSAIDs. And the second one for osteoarthritis or RRA, rheumatoid arthritis, is DMARD. I'll tell you what it means. DMARD. Disease modifying anti-rheumatic drugs. Again, DMARD. So manage it with NSAIDs first if the pain isn't too much. But if the pain is too much, and doctors prescribe DMARD. Okay, disease modifying. The group alone tells you that it's an anti-rheumatic drug. Okay, it targets part of the immune system that caused the disease. The disease remission can be achieved. Okay, here are a couple of things that I'd like you to look at. The number one that will show up will be your Humira. Say adalimumab. Say Humira. Sounds like Indian, right? Adalimumab, like Mumbai. Adalimumab, right? Here comes your MAB. Okay. Humira is not only used for arthritis. They're expensive. All of these drugs are expensive. It's also used for what? Can you tell me what Humira is also used for other than arthritis? That's why it shows up on your PTCE. It's used in psoriasis. Yes, like if you have really, really bad psoriasis. Yes, remember this is a MAB. Okay. Another one that will show up because this came from gold. Aura. Okay. Remember? AU, the symbol for gold is AU. Came from gold. You have so many fun facts from Miri. I'm that child who likes fun facts. Aura, no fin. Redaura. Redaura. Okay. Another one. Brel, because it's newer. Umbrella. Plaquenil. Other use for plaquenil, hydrochloroquine. Hydrochloroquine, plaquenil. Other use. Tell me the other uses. They're DMARDs. They're expensive, huh? Humira is very expensive. Other use of plaquenil. Lupus. Lupus. Okay. Here we come. Gouty arthritis. That shows up on the board exam. How? This is how it will show up on the PTCE. Remember this words, uric acid. A gouty arthritis, or what we call gout, the culprit is uric acid. Okay? And it's triggered by certain foods rich in uric acid. Okay? You'll see some people, you thought that they have elephantiasis because their feet are so swollen, their legs are so swollen. If you ask them, I have gout and I was so bad I ate internal organs. It's part of their dish. Internal organs do that. Okay? Certain legumes or beans do that. You'll see their feet swollen, hands swollen, and it's debilitating. Okay? Because those food are rich in uric acid. Okay, so it's common to Latin American countries, those Filipinos, those who love eating or who have dishes that include internal organs. Okay, uric acid. What happens? So your gouty arthritis is the same as gout. Gout is a form of arthritis resulting from the body's improper excretion of uric acid. All right. So gout, uric acid. This is how it shows up on the board. Okay. What's the cause of gout? And they'll have so many different ones. Uric acid will be, it affects the big toe first. Okay. Then can move to other joints or parts of the body. That's why we have a cousin who, like, oh, I ate this. I know what I did. Right. Couldn't walk the next morning. Okay. Because of that. Affects the big toe, then it extends to the joints. People prone to gout should avoid the following: aspirin, diuretics, salicylates, and what's ethanol? Alcohol. Okay, ethanol abbreviated as ETOH. So if you see on your prescription no ETOH, that means do not take with alcohol. Only in the state of Nevada will we have all prescriptions that say do not take with alcohol your prescription meds. I wonder why too. Fun fact. Daily there are 2,000 arrests in Las Vegas. A big portion of that is drunk driving. Okay. Followed by battery. Huh?
In Texas, they give you a ticket for drunk driving.
Here too.
No.
Oh, they're going to jail too. Oh, in Texas, just ticket.
In Texas, it's just a ticket. In Texas, you can drive up to a daiquiri place and drive off.
Here you go. Here you go to jail.
Yeah, you're going to jail.
To let you eat that hard rock bread and sleep on the cement as a punishment.
Make you cough.
No, but I know some people went to jail. So don't mess with me. I may not have gone to jail. Anyway, it's interesting if you work there. I told you stories, right? At the Clark County Detention Center. Okay, tell them to avoid this. On top of that, the food that I talked about, internal organs, the beans. Oh, they're so good, but it hurts too. It's not like a massage that it hurts so good, it hurts. It just hurts. Okay. Uric acid is the culprit. I'm looking for my clicker. Uric acid is the culprit for gout. Okay.
Did you say red meat too?
Red meat too. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Red meat too. And that's why they say that's why I take it with wine. Red wine. Steaks. Yes. Okay. Classification for gout. Classifications of drugs for gout. Okay. Because it's caused by uric acid, so agent is uricosuric. Say uricosuric agents. Okay. And this show up on the PTCE. Say xanthine oxidase inhibitors. Say it fast. Xanthine oxidase inhibitors. Sound like we're like in the upper echelon when we pronounce the drugs, right? So fancy. Like we're so classy. Anyway, xanthine. And then I'll see you decades later. You named your kids drug names. Cute.
Stop calling your brother.
Not impossible. Okay, so xanthine oxidase inhibitors. Why are they gonna show up? Okay, later I'll tell you. Anti-gout, NSAIDs, and corticosteroids. Okay, the other one is no steroid. This one is steroid. Okay. 2 treatment goals. 1, to treat acute attack. What's an attack? Well, it already happened. It's right there. I can't walk anymore. It hurts so bad. My big toe is swollen. Just like it's the only toe in my toes. In my feet. That's how big it gets. That's why I said it looks like elephantiasis. Just an exaggeration. And prevent future gout attacks. Say endomedicine. Say indocin. Okay, this is a potent and fast-acting NSAID. Potent, very strong, and fast-acting. You know naproxen. Say naproxen. Because that is your OD. Okay, naproxen. It is an NSAID as well. Faster acting. Okay. Say colchicine. Here. Can be right. Let's go. Colchicine, acute attacks and prevention. Uloric inhibits production of uric acid, but there's one that's not yet showing up. Maybe in the other slide that will show up on. Gout. Are we still on gout? Yes. This is what's going to show up. You want to take note of this. Allopurinol. Allopurinol. Old drug, but still works. Right? Colch. So a quick check. What is RA? How is RA diagnosed? Blood test. Because it's a autoimmune disease. Fill in the blank. Limard disease?
These modifying anti-rheumatoid.
Rheumatic. True or false? Gouty arthritis typically starts in the knuckles.
No,
Where does it start?
toe.
The big toe.
Big dog.
Good job.
Big dog.
Okay. Let's stop here. Pull up our books.
Oh,
Boogie. Let's try to find this drug. If you haven't done a review, please do so.
For the book. We're gonna look
It's
on
got
this.
200.
Oh,
you haven't done it? Yeah, could you please do a review? Look for your book and then review it there. So it'll say verified purchase. Oh, good. Review. Look for your book and then do a review. Okay. Do I have my book with me? Please. Make it your gift to me. Okay, let's do a review. I think the book inside has a click to review too. Okay. See, I forgot. Once I do it, I'm done with it. But I still use it for you guys. Where are we finding? Musculo-Skeletal. Musculo-Skeletal drugs. We're not yet done though. I just want you to find those things so you can either find them. Some of them are in the pain management drugs, but more on the musculoskeletal. If you have the physical book, it's going to be on page 22. Ebooks, please. What page?
I put it on 36.
36 for laptops. Smaller devices. Go on.
Mine was 36 for my
Okay. 22. Let's find these drugs. Musculo-Skeletal. Ooh, this one's next. The dronates. The dronates are for osteoporosis, which was a while ago, but not really that. Okay. So if you notice, all the dronates, they are bisphosphonate, and they're for osteoporosis. Okay. Now, here comes your, let's see, your arthritis. It might be an autoimmune, right? Because these are mostly spasm, muscle relaxant. What page is autoimmune? 48 for the physical book, 79 for ebooks. You found it? Remember I told you about plaquenil a while ago? That's right here. Highlight them. Hydroxychloroquine. Okay. Hydroxychloroquine. ENROLL is here. You see, DMARD. Okay. The word I was looking for a while ago for plaquenil was it's also an anti-malarial. For malaria. You know what malaria is caused by? Mosquitoes. That shows up sometimes. Okay. So it's an anti-malaria. That's the word I was looking for plaquenil or hydrochloroquine. Okay. And then you have your ENROLL. It's a DMARD. Your methotrexate, which was in our prescription a while ago too on math. It's also a DMARD. Okay. And then we have, what else? We have some MABs. You found it? Where is it? Oh yeah, at the bottom for me. Remicade is there. Did you see? It's a MAB. Okay, monoclonal antibody. Now let's find on our table if there are common suffixes. Corticosteroid, there you go. Cort. They have cort at in the front, or they have zone at the end. Okay. Hydrocortisone. What's next? Let's highlight. I hope you're color coding. MAB. Okay, did you see the MAB? Monoclonal antibody. MABs have so many uses, huh? Arthritis, psoriasis. Okay. What else? Nasal, oral, alone. Steroids. Own. Okay. Pred. There's also corticosteroid. Okay. Profen. There you go. Do you see profen? NSAID. Phenoprofen, forbiprofen, ibuprofen, ketoprofen. So if the answer is an NSAID and ibuprofen is not there on the options, it's going to be either one of these. Is that clear? So your profen. That's how useful the table is. Next one. You find any more?
No, that's all.
That's it. You scanned. Sulfa, tadine, terol, thiazide, tinib, Tritin, triptan, beer. Zepam. We did the Zepam last time. The PAMs and the LAMs. Remember the PAMs and the LAMs are? What are PAMs and LAMs? Benzos. They're used for anxiety. What schedule? 4. Thank you. Good job. Any questions? Happy Friday. I'll see you at the park on Monday.
It's gonna be so cool.
10 o'clock. Bundle up. Yoga for mental health.
Like,